And boom, we are live. All right, GM everyone. It's another weekly batch analysis, and I think this is going to be a good one. I don't have too many trades. I know that I'm in profit this week, which is really awesome. And slowly but surely, I'm trying my best to grind myself out of this DD. So this is currently what the curve looks like. At the worst spot from the top to the bottom, I was at like what 38 RDD or some shit. And keep in mind that this DD was really affected by one, chasing trades too early, two, continuing to chase trades when it was too late, and three, and this is probably the worst one, even changing some of my fundamental rules, such as my entry method to the directional trigger candle to the DTC, with absolutely horrible performance. I had a -10 week, which could have easily been like -2 or something. So I really dug a big hole for myself here, and it's gonna take some time to get out of it. Like 40R, 40R is a lot. Like making 40R even in a year is really awesome. Like imagine if you're risking 1%, making 40% in a year on a big account, like let's say a million, that's 400K. And that's amazing, right? So gotta think in terms of R secured rather than absolute numbers in like dollar numbers. So yeah, it's a 40 RDD. It's gonna take some time to get out, but I gave myself this final quest that I really want to prove to myself that I can do this on the forward test, and being super honest with myself and sticking to my rules, making as little mistakes as possible, being patient, and all of that stuff. So it's taking time. It's gonna take more time because I am still in a DD of what 27 right now. But you know what? That's just that's just the way it is. It's okay. Um, it's part of the process. And if I manage to emerge out of this into new all-time highs, my confidence is gonna be absolutely bulletproof. And at that point, I will start my funding challenge. And yeah, I'm gonna have a very good mindset. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the trades. So this week I have what one, two, six trades here. Not all of them did I take. I think I only took four. One I missed, which was unfortunate because it wasn't on my radar. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. So let's dive into it. Before we do that, last week I only had a single trade here, which was this one on NAS 100, and that was pretty good. Wasn't perfect, but was good. And I was very patient. I didn't force anything. Nothing went wrong. So just a minus 0.2 R. Very happy with that. So this week I just continue doing what I'm supposed to do, and just checking these rules. There isn't anything that would be like, super crucial. What I have noticed is that as I iron out some of these mistakes, of course, I require less coaching because ultimately these weekly batch analyses, what they really are self-coaching sessions. And the self-coaching is targeted based on what mistakes are repeating, right? What mistakes am I doing frequently? Because those are the things that I need to address. And if I perform well, there isn't much to address, and that's awesome. So that's ultimately going to make it that these videos are going to be shorter, and yeah, that's good. That's good. So let's just go into the first trade here. So first trade is a GBP USD, and I ended up not taking this. So I didn't take this because I didn't like the 1 minute setup much. All right, so let's go take a look. So this is a short, right? So here is my context time frame, the 60-minute. Uh, with the context time frame, I'm always, always looking to be patient and always looking for a clear DMB as a change of direction, right? What I mean by that is this has a direction of going over here. So in order for me to trade this direction, what I really need is a DMB, a big DMB. into that direction. So here on the 1 hour, because I know what things look like fractally, if I went to, let's say, a 4 hour or 8 hour, maybe even a 12 hour or something, this would just look like a very nice DMB. Like it would be a little bit compressed, and this would be it. So I can see I have some trades in here, but I'm pretty sure I did not trade those. Let me just get something different. Yep, that's nice. So I probably was just testing something, but yeah, here the reason why I don't enjoy really trading over here is because from an order flow perspective, this is already going to the downside, right? So anything that happens like this, it's always, in my view, uh, for the purpose of redistribution. I expect this to simply go as far as it needs to, and then to continue lower. But here that doesn't happen. Here we reach the highest point, right? And then we start chopping around, creating another stage one. So I still expect, until this very moment, I still expect that this is going to go down. But as this is breaking higher with good momentum, I am totally valid to trade in the new direction here. So that's the reason why I traded this short, and why I'm so patient with waiting for these moments and not trading anything in between. So this line over here is this line, right? What we have here is clearly a stage one underneath. I love to see consolidation below resistance. That's really good. There is a difference between, let's say that you have some kind of swing point over here and price doing like this, some kind of stage one, and then going like that on a huge sprint. I don't like getting involved here too much if this has sprinted too much, because it seems overextended on that lower time frame. But when it does something like this, and then it stage one's over here and continues higher, getting involved here is, in my opinion, amazing. That's like there has been a weak to strong over here, a stage one, and now demand has overpowered supply again. Well, in that case, it's actually supply overpowering demand because it's inverted, but you know what I'm saying. This direction now makes a lot of sense, and I feel comfortable actually trading in that direction. So that's what happens over here, the stage one, right? And here it breaks out with big momentum, right? Lots of inefficiency left behind. EMAs are rising. This stage two, like overall, looks amazing. Everything looks really good. So as we pull back into the rising 1020 EMA, I'm valid to go to the lower time frame. And here, I believe this is a 1 minute entry. So here we break down, we lose the momentum cycle. So instantly, what I assume is I'm going to get some kind of either stage one and a breakout that I can then trade here on the 10 second, or I simply get a DMB here already that I can trade on the 1 minute. And that's what happened over here. So here we go a little bit deeper. Let me just check where the demand zone itself is. So the demand zone would be over here, like when we think in terms of a three box, right? Of let's say this is the resistance break, bam, this is where it came from. That's the three box. So as long as we are above this point, I'm totally okay taking any kind of trade, right? So here we are, and this DMB over here, let me just draw in the boxes. So I would say this is MB1 over here. Want that white as always. Boom. That's MB1. And if I copy paste it, I don't even have to copy paste it. It doesn't need to be exactly the same size, but at least similar size. And this is perfect in my opinion. So here, big strong validation, right? MB1 forming below the EMAs, dipping quite deep, but that's okay. And the strong validation gave me confidence in this trade. Uh, and yeah, I actually ended up not taking this, and I'm wondering why a little bit, because just looking at this, it seems pretty good. Hmm. I guess what I didn't like is this stage two over here on this entry time frame, this one. But honestly, looking at it, I think it's not bad. I think it's not bad at all. Maybe maybe I didn't like the DMB itself, because like one thing that I can see is that the EMAs are not necessarily rising. So maybe that's why I didn't like it. But honestly, this trade was not bad at all. So what actually ends up happening? Wow, this goes to like 4.5 and returns back to break even. I didn't take this. Honestly, I think I should have taken it. Let's just say that if I had taken it, I would not be mad at myself. I think this trade was good. I don't know what it was that I didn't like here too much. Mm, yeah, I think this is okay. So, do I have anything else here? Didn't take this because I didn't like the 1 minute setup much. Okay. Well, okay. I guess it's better to, when in doubt, stay out. That's a well proven rule. And it's good that I documented it because honestly, I think I could have taken this trade. It looks pretty good to me. And if I had the ability to now decide without knowing the result if I want to take the trade or not, I would take it. I think it looks good. Even like when it comes to containment, I mean the containment here is on the 1 minute. It's very steep, right? I don't really like it. But if we take a look on the lower time frame over here, it's pretty clear. This like the reignition here is as clear as it gets. I should have taken this. But hey, that's okay. So this is like I wouldn't even call this a mistake. It's just, mm, these kind of things will happen. Sometimes I'm just not gonna like something too much, and it might end up actually being good. But in the heat of the moment, I'm just gonna see something else, and that's okay. But yeah, this trade was actually good. So should have taken, and yeah, let's actually label it up. So context-wise, this is, what am I gonna say here? I mean, I'm gonna say new direction, something I haven't said before, but yeah, new direction and definitely good momentum. Here, definitely good momentum, like 100%. This was amazing. Here, good momentum as well. The stage 2 was strong and nice, and I would say this was a good entry. Yeah. So overall, I'm gonna say this trade was good. hmm Good context, good momentum, and good entry. Management wise, so yeah, here I was looking at the 10-second for the break even. Could be the 1 minute. Honestly, it doesn't matter because I know exactly what I want to see on both time frames, both variants. So the 10-second just gives me a bit more resolution. So I usually use the 10 seconds for my break even rule, even on 1 minute entries. So after this, like here, that wasn't quite enough yet for a 1 minute entry. I would rather let it maybe chop around a little bit and then give me a decisive sign of strength that clearly shows me that price is going away from my entry, which I get on this candle over here. So that's where I move to risk free. And yeah, this just barely doesn't reach 5R and comes back to break even. That's totally fine. So management wise, perfect. Overall, very good. Why didn't take looked weird? I mean, yeah, there's nothing for me to fill here. Yep. I guess I can add a comment here. Looking back at this, it actually looked pretty good, and I should have taken it. Okay, moving on, another trade on GU. So context-wise, it's exactly the same. Let let's just take a look what happened over here on the 6 minute. 6 minute looks pretty nice. So on the 6 minute previously, right, we traded over here, and now we trade as it breaks into a new high. So let's get closer. As it breaks into a new high, creating a new quote unquote three box, so to say, right? This is the demand, this is the break of structure, and now anything that happens over here, I'm valid to trade. So here, what do we have? Yep, on the 1 minute, this was the trade over here, and now it goes higher. And yeah, on the 10-second, gotta analyze this stage 2 over here. This stage 2 looks very nice, I would say. Big chunky candles in that direction, having those little pops away, right? The acceleration away from EMA is not necessarily glued to them, and small, tiny sell candles, like not a lot of supply in this market. So it looks pretty one-sided. And here, what do we have? We have the loss of the momentum cycle, MB1 validation pretty strong, and the DMB that looks pretty clean. To be honest, if anything, I like that previous trade a bit more and this one a bit less. The reason for that is that this MB is a little bit questionable, honestly. Like I gotta break even very, very quickly here if I want to trade this, because I would much rather see like a clean uh like failure in terms of like some demand zone failing, and that is true reaccumulation, right? So this high, where did it come from? Ah, yeah, I even draw it here, right? This one. So here, what I'm looking at is this is probably like a break of structure, and this is the demand. So I would really like to see this point getting liquidated before I get in. But here, I guess I decided, okay, mm, this could still continue, which it can. It definitely can. It's just that it's a very, very aggressive setup, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a loss, and I got to break even very, very quickly. So what happens here? Yeah, so here it starts going. I guess I break even on this candle. I would expect. 10-second stage 2, Gucci as fuck, looking for continuation. Okay, and yeah, this candle is where I break even, and pretty much after that candle, there's no higher high than that, and it comes back to break even. So overall, I guess it's a good shot. It's a good shot at continuation, but honestly, I think it's a bit overextended. Like I think this whole run is a bit overextended. Like let's take a look. So I would say probably yeah, like here I would say this whole thing is a stage 1, which would mean that the stage 1 is over here, and this would be MMB1, MMB2, MMB3, MMB4. Yeah, yeah. This is a bit overextended. Honestly, I'd rather not take this trade again. Like I managed really well, so it ended up working, but mm, mm, I don't know. I probably would skip this trade if I could. So I'm gonna label it as a mistake, even though like it follows rules so well. I'm gonna label it as a mistake because I don't want to take these types of trades, to be honest. So yeah, let's label this up. I mean, this is the same. Okay, this is definitely amazing momentum, but but possibly not possibly. I'm just gonna say overextended. And here, yeah, I'm gonna say too shallow, and overextended. And I'm gonna call this a mistake. So it sucks that I made a mistake, so to say, right? But that's okay. Like, even though I want to execute perfectly as much as I can, like, I still need to be honest with myself and really point out when I'm making a mistake. That, like, these sessions, pointing out mistakes is the best thing I can do. While it might hurt my ego because I have to admit to myself that I made a mistake and I fucked up, the only way that I prevent this in the future is by admitting it and by documenting it properly, by troubleshooting it, and by learning my lesson from it, right? And pay attention that it has absolutely nothing to do with the result itself. What this part over here does not matter. What matters is the process. How did I get involved, and was the way that I have gotten involved correct or not? And I just think that this one was not the best. And in the long run, I would probably like to avoid these kind of trades. But even then, like comparing this as a mistake with some of the mistakes I did in the past, this is still an amazing trade, right? It's really, really good. It's just that I want to be super, super picky and filtering out a lot of the stuff. So I need to be even more strict than I would be, let's say, with 1 hour entries, which are more rare. But yeah, this one, I'm just going to call it a mistake. So moving on, what do we have next? Actually, not moving on just yet. Need to do this. I mean, 1 minute. What did I say about 1 minute? Yes, there is good momentum, but probably overextended. And entry-wise, questionable entry. MB1 too shallow, and yeah, that's it. Management-wise, that was perfect. Management allowed me to not actually take a loss. And overall, I'm gonna call it a mistake because it's overextended and and there's a questionable entry. Okay, moving on, another GU trade. So it's already three GU trades in a row. So what's different here? What's different? Okay, I see. So here on the 1 minute, right? So this is the previous push. We have that push over here, and now it pulls back for real, right? Now it pulls back into the rising 1020, and this is gonna look much, much better already because what do we have here? So on the 10 second, let me see the 10-second previously. So this ends up going a little bit higher, right? This is where I get tapped out at break even. This is the highest point, and that highest point comes from this demand over here. And that is the demand that actually I would mark up, and that's the demand that fails. And as it fails, now I see that as true reaccumulation. And now, even though there was this big sprint, now I feel like, okay, this has reaccumulated and can now continue, right? It has taken a little break, it's taken a breather, and now if it wants to continue, it will be ready. And what do we have here? So first of all, this is the big push, right? The stage 2 looks amazing, in my opinion. Here it pulls back into the rising 1020. And what does the setup itself look like? So here the MBs are a little bit wide, but if I looked like, let's say at a 15-second or a 20-second, they would look exactly perfect. So this is actually a really, really nice DMB. I love this DMB. And similar size, I mean, the validation is nice too. Clear demand zone left behind, inefficiency. This was like the last moment that I was willing to take this because of the proportionality of the MBs. But if it lost here, if it closed here, I would have not taken it. So how does this actually tap me in? Let me just see. Okay, so this is just at the EMAs. So I wouldn't say that this setup lost the EMAs. I think it's still very, very good. And yeah, this taps me in, continues going, and just doesn't have enough juice in the trend and comes back to break even. So I would say this trade was really, really perfect. So I can copy all of this. Yep. Because context-wise, it's exactly the same type of trade as before. It's just that this entry is much, much nicer. And I would call this a perfect entry. I really like this entry a lot. So let's go here. Good context, good momentum, good momentum here, and it's a 10-second, right? Yep, good entry. Management-wise, oh, I have a comment here. This gapped a bit, so profit will be reduced. I see. But even then, there was no profit to be had, right? So not reduced. All good. Risk-free after. Hello? Okay, after these candles. Yeah, probably could have gone risk-free already on the previous candle, but waited a little bit longer. And I guess I waited a bit longer because of how it gapped. So my entry was actually a bit higher. So I wanted to see a little bit more strength away from my entry, which I got. And yeah, comes back to break even. So that was perfect in terms of management. Overall, this was a perfect trade, in my opinion. So that's nice. Perfect. Okay. Now, JER30. Finally, a different asset. So let's talk about the context a little bit here, right? Big stage 2, really beautiful, loses its momentum cycle. I immediately assume some kind of stage 1 chop nonsense. This is what I expect. And I always at this point wait for this to form, unless it does something like this and then creates an MMB here, then I'm willing to trade that MMB over here. But once it starts chopping below, I always wait for some kind of resistance to form, and usually it forms from the supply zone, right? So anything in here, I'm not interested whatsoever. Then it breaks higher over here and creates this MMB. And I already start looking for a trade over here, but unfortunately I don't get anything. Nothing sets up the way I would want to. But then it sets up over here, right? So I have this high broken. Since then, I mean, this was a stage 1, this is MMB1, maybe MMB2, this is MMB3. So by no means is this overextended. And as it pulls back into the rising 1020, I'm totally valid to look for a trade. So here, what happens, right? Based on the EMAs, we can see that this was some kind of stage 2 that breaks down. Immediately, as always, I assume some kind of chop, and I'm not trading here. This is the supply, so I assume this is going to be some kind of resistance. Sure enough, that's exactly the level that price ends up respecting, but then eventually it breaks out on huge, huge momentum, right? Creating this new 3 box over here with the valid demand zone. And as it pulls back into the rising 1020, that's where I look for a trade. Here, this stage 2, this looks pretty damn one-sided to me. Yeah, this looks very, very one-sided. And here I look at it a little bit more fractally because on the 1 minute, this doesn't look perfect, right? But the 1 minute, look, I do have entries on the 1 minute, but that doesn't mean that the 1 minute is the end all be all, or 10 seconds, right? I need to be able to shuffle the time frames around a little bit because I don't trade time frames, I trade price action. And time frames only allow me to see the price action that is happening. So strictly pattern wise, this doesn't look too good, right? I mean, it doesn't have a lower high, it doesn't have the resting candle, and so on. It doesn't look perfect, but those rules are really just so that I have a pattern that is fixed on that given time frame. But I believe that as a versatile, successful trader, I should always know the limitations of sticking to a fixed time frame. I need to trade price action, not time frame patterns. And if I look at the 10-second, this setup looks amazing. This is exactly what I like to see normally. It's just that the 1 minute, based on how this happened and how it happened through time, it looks a little bit compressed over here. If this was, say, a 40-second chart or a 30-second chart, it would be perfect. So I don't necessarily pay too much attention to this because I can look at the 10-second and see the higher resolution of the price action, and the price action here looks absolutely amazing, right? So here, this is the 3 box, so to say. This is the demand, right? And here it fails below the demand, so immediately I can assume reaccumulation. Everything is good, and if I get my validation here, my entry, I will 100% take it. And here I have a beautiful MB forming below the EMAs. Big strong validation and a nice MB2 that is similar size. So this is perfect. I mean, maybe if I looked on, okay, this is 10-second, I think this would be on a 30-second, this would probably look absolutely perfect, and I would take it. So no reason not to take this. This is exactly the type of price action that is my entry. So that's why I set up my buy stop. And sure enough, this taps me in. I actually, oh yeah, I remember. I survived this barely, super, super close, right? And this is also with spread included. So I think this is just like one tick or something that I survive, and that ends up being a beautiful winner. So let's see how I managed here. So I reduced risk on this candle over here. I think I took the screenshot a little bit late on this one, on the chunky one. That's where I reduced my risk to the orange line because I reduced risk twice. And as it forms a fractal structure, which is over here, that's when I go completely risk-free, and that ends up being my +5 for the week. So beautiful. And by the way, this ends up running to 16.24. Huge, huge runner. Anyway, let's mark it up, right? So, good momentum. Okay, this is a stage 1 breakout. On good momentum. And this, How am I gonna call this? Mm, Shuffle time frames, and here perfect entry. Okay. So overall, I would say this was a perfect trade. I really like this trade. I wonder if I would actually get tapped out or not on a live account because the broker is different, right? Like this broker, I think this is FXCM or some stuff. I wonder how this would look like on Mint Funding. There's a chance I might have gotten tapped out, but hey, then again, there's also a chance that I might stay in different trades that would normally tap me out on FXCM. So I'm just gonna, mm, I'm not gonna pay attention to this. Is what I'm trying to say. Like right now, I'm forward testing on FXCM, and yeah, this is the performance. So yeah, not gonna not gonna make a fuss about that. This was overall perfect, and that's my winner for the week. All right, moving on. Another GU trade, and this one I unfortunately didn't take. So wasn't following GU, unfortunately. This was total valid. Yeah, this was a bit unfortunate. I don't remember exactly what I was doing, but I did not set up my watch list to follow GU on that given day, which is unfortunate because I was supposed to, right? I already traded GU earlier in the week, so I don't quite understand why I didn't trade it. But anyway, so last GU trade was over here. Let me just copy paste this. So let's take a look what happened since then. So on the V, right, let's take a look at the C first. So here, as it breaks higher, so here I already traded, and this ended up being a fake out, and this was yet another fake out, and then eventually it breaks higher over here. And also, as it breaks higher, it creates a consolidation below, which we can see on the 6 minute over here. I mean, this stage 2 over here, very, very choppy, very nonsensical. Maybe that's also why I didn't follow, because I just thought, it looks choppy. I'm probably not going to pay attention. And I expected that it's not going to clear up. And I expected that it's going to continue in the same fashion. But then it creates this stage 1 over here, and it breaks out on very, very nice momentum. So here we can see that on the 1 minute, big momentum, MB1, big momentum, MB2 pulls back into the rising 1020. And as we take a look over here on the 10 second, this stage 2 is amazing. This stage 2 is pretty awesome. And as it pulls back over here, this is the demand zone, liquidates the demand zone, right? Very nice. And then I can draw my containment line, and this is MB1, MB2. So this one was this valid? Mm, yeah, I think it was. I think it was. Maybe that's also why I didn't take it, because here I didn't like this setup too much because it felt a little bit like I thought this is going to be redistribution and it's going to fuck down lower. But then it went higher, and I was like, okay, so is this whole thing one big move, and then I can look for this or not? And I wasn't completely sure. Mm, no, actually, I was just not watching. I think. Yeah, I wasn't following. So yeah. Anyway, let me mark up the MBs here. So here I would say this was the MB. Boom. This would be the MB2 over here. Not the cleanest. Not the cleanest. I mean, if anything, I should have taken this one. Yeah. If anything, I should have taken that. But at that point, it didn't look quite like the reignition that I like to see. And here, this was just like, I don't know. To be honest, I think it's good that I didn't take this trade. It doesn't look too good. Of course, it ends up being a beautiful winner, yeah, but I don't know. Doesn't look too good to me. Mm, so like MB1, MB2, like this. I don't know. I don't like this trade too much. And I guess that's also, well, again, it's not the reason why I didn't take it. I didn't take it because I wasn't following. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, let's mark it up. So this is stage one breakout on good momentum. This is good momentum. And this entry is very questionable. Very questionable. So overall, mm, I'm gonna I'm gonna call it good. It's like I'm very neutral about this trade. I think it's okay that I didn't take it. That's for sure. So how I managed, yeah, like pretty much as I entered, I would not get slipped here because there was a 10 seconds here just above my entry that would get me in, and then it gapped higher as I was already in, or gapped like just pumped. So immediately after this candle, I can basically break even. And yeah, this had a lot of strength in it, and it just continued higher. So yeah, that was nice. But ultimately, I don't mind not taking it. Questionable entry, which will make this good. Good why? Well, because it's a questionable entry. Alright. And it ends up going to 6.17R. I already measured that. Management wise, that was perfect. So yeah, that's how I'm gonna approach it. And last trade of the week is GU as well. Because I saw that I missed this trade and I was like, oh, okay, so maybe there's going to be another setup because honestly, the way it continued higher was absolutely beautiful, very, very strong. And what happens here is, so this is the stage one, right? It breaks out, very nice stage two. I'm definitely looking to follow. And here, as it breaks lower, here it loses its momentum cycle, so technically I'm not interested in any trades in here anymore. But as it breaks into a new high, I can definitely look for an MMB. So that's pretty much what happens. This is the new high over here. This is the reaccumulation. I mean, this is the high point. I would say this is probably the demand over here. So it returns to the demand. Totally valid. Here it breaks higher. Huge, huge momentum. And as it pulls back into the rising 1020, I can take a look at the 10 second. And here what do we have? Big stage two, very strong. You can see a chunky candles, lots of inefficiency, small candles in the opposite direction. This is the demand zone that I marked up. That this is what I want to see liquidated, right? Because that's what led into the highest high. Liquidates that. So at that point, I'm very, very happy with looking for an entry. I looked for an entry already somewhere over here, but nothing really set up. This looked promising for a moment, but it died off. All I'm looking for here is simply reignition, and that's exactly what happens over here. So this is the validation, this is the pullback. So if we create the MBs here, I would say this was MB1 over here, and this is MB2. It's very proportional. Yeah, this looks amazing, and this was an amazing trade that taps me in and pretty much starts chopping. Like, let me actually see here. So how do I manage? So on this candle over here, maybe I could have broken even on this one already. I'm not sure. Maybe it was already quite far with a one tick stop loss, but I waited for a little bit longer, and here I was like, yep. At this point, it's completely like, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Mm, undeniable. It's undeniable that it's like there's strength away from my entry, so I break even. And unfortunately, like compared to the previous stage two, this just starts chopping. A lot of supply enters the market. It seems a little bit illiquid, but still, I thought this could easily hit higher. Like once I'm in and I'm broken even, I have no risk. I don't care what it does as long as it like if it wants to chop like crazy and then deliver, or if it wants to deliver in a strong way. I don't care as long as it does. Like the market is gonna do what it's gonna do, right? So here it just doesn't have enough juice. I guess it comes to like 3.5 or something, and then comes back to break even, and that's completely fine. I'm very happy with this trade. This trade was, in my opinion, absolutely perfect. So, dude, good momentum here. Amazing momentum over here. And I would call this a perfect entry, which would make this trade overall perfect. Okay, label that up. Beautiful. Okay. So where does that leave us? So what went well? Before I get into that, let me just go over these trades one more time real quick, as I always do. So here's the context, right? Yep, this is a new direction, clear DMB and strong momentum. Nice. This is the same. This is the same. This is reaccumulation that had its stage one play out, and now it's trending in a new momentum cycle higher. This is perfect. This is the same stuff. Yep, this has a big momentum, active momentum cycle, trend in that direction already. Good, good. Same here. So these contacts were really nice. Now the V's, right? So there's a stage one over here, big momentum. Here it loses its momentum cycle, but breaks into a new high, which makes this completely tradable. Very nice. Here, stage one breakout on big momentum. Very good. Stage one breakout with good momentum. Very good. This is stage one. This is already trending, right? This is momentum cycle. Very good. Momentum cycle. Momentum cycle. Awesome. Entries. So this entry should have taken, didn't take. Yeah, this one. I think this entry was good. I really do. I should have taken this. This is another. Is this an entry or is this a V? Oh, right, right. It's this entry over here. I was looking at this. Yep, over here. Yeah, this one. Honestly, I don't like it too much. This is a bit overextended, and I haven't seen enough of a liquidation, not enough of a reset. So I don't like this too much. This one on the 1 minute, this is a perfect V, right? Big, big momentum pulling back into the EMA. This is beautiful. This is an entry. The entry I can see over here. The entry is perfect, in my opinion. Looks very nice. This one, active momentum cycle, right? Pull back into 1020. This is really nice. Here, yep, reaccumulation, big momentum into new highs, pull back into rising 1020. Perfect. Entry-wise, this entry was perfect. This entry was a little bit questionable, but still pretty good. This entry was good. Okay. So overall, I think I followed my rules very well. Once again, I was very patient. I only had 4 trades, I think. So I only traded when the contexts were really, really good. So if anything, like when it comes to where did I make mistakes? Where did I make mistakes? I have one mistake over here, and that's because this seems overextended and pull back too shallow. So I'm gonna write that down. What went bad? 1 minute. Whoa. 1 minute was overextended. I'm actually gonna add the screenshot as well. So over here, let's add both of these. Let's add it over here, I guess. Make it bigger. Okay. So this was the mistake. Here, very simply, this MB is just, I don't know, I don't like it too much. If it pulled back a little bit more, I would like it more. And actually, that's exactly what happened a little bit later, where if we take a look at the 1 minute over here, this is where I traded. Ideally, I would wait for the pullback, and that's exactly what happens over here, and this becomes a much, much better trade. So I should have skipped this one. And anything else? 1 minute was overextended. Pullback was too shallow. Okay, that's this trade. But other than that, I followed my rules super well. I was very patient, and I'm pretty happy with how this week went. So let's take a look at the weekly analysis over here. So this is week what? Week 28. Okay. So these are all the trades that I took. Overall results plus 4.2. Let's write that down. Plus, yo, what? Hello? Okay. Plus 4.2R. And result after filtering mistakes. So I made one mistake over here. If I had perfect week, I guess. Wait, is this set up properly? Oh yeah, week 28. If I had a perfect week, then I would not have taken that one break even, but I would have taken a different break even, so it would actually be exactly the same. Okay, so plus 4.2. I'm very happy with this. Could have potentially been a little bit more had I caught that trade over here, that other plus 5. I didn't, but that's okay. I don't mind too much. What's important to me is that now I will continue being very patient. I will continue taking only the best of the best trades. If I make a mistake every now and then, it's okay. Like one mistake in a week. I was thinking, like, what's a good ratio? Like, I would say if I manage to be at least 80% good, so 20% allocated to mistakes, I'm going to be happy with it. Of course, ideally, I would have 0 mistakes, but even if I make one mistake every week, so what? Like, that's a -1. It's not a big deal. I should be able to outperform that. But of course, I will try my best to not make mistakes. So here, plus 4.2. Yep. Uh, Still, these markets I didn't get to watch too much. Like I got to watch GER30 in the early in the week a little bit, but then it failed. Like here we can see, right? This was early in the in the week, and then the momentum cycle failed, and now I'm just kind of waiting because I assume there's going to be some kind of stage 1. So lots of waiting. Maybe next week something will set up. Maybe the week after, or it fails completely. Who knows? And pretty much the only market that was actually like tradable was GU to the short side for me. Still, I feel like we're in an overall environment that doesn't deliver too much. And once we actually do get delivering markets, I think with my current rule set, I'm going to milk them very, very well. So, given the fact that the markets are the way they are, I think I have very, very nice results here. And one thing I want to point out is that this has been what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think like 6 weeks in a row. No, 5. What is it? -5. Oof. Okay, this was bad. So actually just 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row of pretty much not perfect, but very, very good performance. And I'm happy with that because honestly, it was like over here, like 6 weeks ago, that I told myself, okay, I really, really want to focus on trading perfectly. So if I see some gray zones, some questionable trades, when I'm in doubt, I will stay out. And I tried my best to do that. The first 1, 2 weeks were not the best. I still made a couple of mistakes, but I ironed it out. And these last 4 weeks, I've been trading perfectly, and I definitely plan to continue that. So same stuff for next week. Nothing is going to be different. Uh, yep. Here, that's going to be week 29. And I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So I don't think there's anything else really to talk about. Nothing to coach myself on. I think everything was said. Um, just pay a lot of attention to the good context. A beautiful example of how much I want to pay attention to context is German 30 right now. I will only start trading after this went through its stage 1 and breakout. I will not trade anything at all inside of this. So here I drew out my expectation immediately, right? This is where the last sell came from. So this is the supply zone. So this is where I expect range shenanigans. Maybe it will go above a little bit and fuck lower. And like eventually as it breaks higher with high momentum, that's where I'm going to trade it. So Yeah, gotta be very, very picky and patient with the context, and then I have to go through so many more rules on the validation and the entry to actually get the types of entries that I want to get. They're quite rare, and I think that's the uh, right approach. I think my entries should be rare, especially on the lower time frame, and this understanding of the low time frame only allows me to outperform the high time frame trade has been totally, totally amazing for me. So I only trade the low time frame when the high time frame traders also get tapped into a trade. I just try to outperform them on the way up. And yeah, that requires a lot of patience, which is very different from what I initially thought when I started my trading journey. I thought, hey, I'm going to trade 10-second entries, which means every day I get to do this cool job and I sit at the computer and I get to trade and I will trade, and I will become the market. But nah, it's much more about being patient, waiting a lot, and only when the time is right, when the stars align, that's when I actually go and take my entries. And even then, it can be minus ones, and that's just the game we play. Gotta get used to it. And I think these days I have a really, really well refined understanding and, well, a very patient approach for this. So, yeah, that's all. As always, if this has sparked any thoughts in you, shoot me a DM or tag me in Trade Talk. I'm always very happy to talk about trading, very passionate about it. So, yeah, I hope some of you find it useful. I wish you the best of luck in next week, and I'll see you in the markets. Peace.